Hello and welcome, Toastmasters and guests, to the second edition of Area G2 Linkers Meet. We have 5 amazing Toastmasters clubs as part of Area G2, including Cisco-Vani, Orators in the Cloud, Powerschool, and 2 new clubs joining us, Cadence and Legato Toastmasters Club today. I'm Aastha, and I'm the Sergeant at Arms for today's session and the president of Cisco-Vani Toastmasters Club. I welcome you all on this great Friday evening. I would like to begin by stating the mission of a Toastmasters Club. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self confidence and personal growth. Some rules to be respected during the session. Please turn off all noise-making devices or put them to silent mode. Speakers are requested to refrain from making any reference to politics, sex, or religion in their speeches. Please don't leave the meeting room once the session has begun. With that, I would now like to officially hand over the stage to our presiding officer and the area director of Area G2. He has over 15 years of experience in diverse roles: business development, account management, service delivery, and project management. He loves to travel and has lived and worked in countries like Thailand, England, and the Middle East. He's a passionate Toastmaster since 2017. He's a member of Cisco-Vani, the past president of IBM Blue Expression Toastmasters Club, and is the current area director of G2. Please give a warm welcome to Toastmaster Ajay.
Thank you, Aastha, for kicking off the meeting and for that introduction. Good evening and welcome everyone to Area G2's first Linkers Meet for the year 2021. And what an amazing start this is for Area G2's Linkers Meet. For here we are with all 5 fingers, all the 5 clubs of Area G2 participating and collaborating together, which is an amazing feeling for me as an area director. And it's extremely exciting to see all coming together and collaborating together. Definitely is a wonderful feeling. And it's great that we have our new clubs, Cadence and Legato Orators as well, joining us here today and collaborating with all the other clubs, and look forward to this collaboration. I'm hoping that this is just the beginning of the collaboration that we are initiating through this Linkers meeting, and hopefully this collaboration will take us to greater miles ahead. And I look forward to the exciting meeting ahead today itself for today. With that, I would now encourage and welcome our Toastmaster of the day. She's someone who is highly creative. I've seen her PR skills, and I'm really intrigued to know what she has in store for us today. So without any delay, please welcome the Toastmaster for today, Toastmaster Shreya Puranik.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ajay, for that interesting, I'd say, introduction of mine. Good evening, one and all present here. A very warm welcome to all the 5 sister clubs of Area G2, as well as all the members present here. I'm so excited to be leading the first Linkers meeting of this year, and also the first Linkers meeting ever of our club, OITC. It's really exciting to see so many new faces, though I see that more than half of them don't have their faces on. And I hope that through the meeting, some of them at least decide to show us their beautiful faces. Today, I will be your host for the evening, and hopefully the train that takes you on this smooth, beautiful journey for the next 1 hour. The theme of the meeting today is chasing progress over perfection. This has taken me the longest time to try to understand in my life. It's a scenario of over 4 years ago where I was going on my first ever trek. And halfway through the trek, I had given up. I was in the worst shape possible, huffing and puffing the whole way. And by the time the trek was done, I was so demotivated. I was very upset with not just how the physically the trek went, but also mentally because of the amount of expectations I had. And guess what? It took me more than 2 years to get the encouragement to go even on my next trek, despite getting so many offers from so many people wanting me to join along on treks. Even 2 years later, when my friends finally did course me to go on that trek, it was not the best by far. My idea of perfection and where I had gone was just, it was way too far, but it was still so much better than the last one. In two aspects. Physically, also because by then I had started working out, and mentally, also because I knew what exactly to expect out of the trek. Even then, even today, I think I struggle with the idea of wanting progress over perfection because I want to do everything that I do perfectly. It's a constant battle in my head. And the person that I'm about to invite next here, RGE, I feel he is also stuck in the same boat. Toastmaster Shricharan says that as someone who has been wanting to start a podcast and make it the most perfect one, he has been waiting infinitely for the perfect opportune moment to start this podcast. Toastmaster Shricharan, I'd say just go for it, man. Over to you, Toastmaster Shricharan, to explain your role of today.
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. So, coming to the role of a general evaluator, right? Every meeting has its agenda, and it should be focused on getting the meeting as efficient and as great as possible. So, my role is to ensure that we follow that, and I'll be presenting my report at the end of the meeting. But in order to do this, I need help from some of the guys. So, this team is what I call as a tag team. To start with the introduction of the tag team, let me call upon the timer to introduce upon his role and go on further.
I was expecting my name to be called, but yay! Hi guys, I am the timer. Uh, this is a landmark meeting for not just Orators in the cloud, but the entire Area G2, as it is the first Linkers meeting of 2021. The perfection of delivery of a speech does not just come from content. Do always remember, like everything in life, including life itself, time is always limited. And I am to do right that thing here. I'll be timing everybody's speech, be it a table topic speaker, an evaluator, a speaker themselves, or our TMoD. I'll be timing every speech here in this meeting, and I'll be presenting my report at the end. The timings for speaker number 1 and speaker number 3 are 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and 7 minutes are the green, yellow, and red time. Green is the qualifying time, red is the stipulated limit time, yellow is the middle buffer. For our speaker number 2, he has 2 segments in his speech. The first segment will be timed 2 minutes for green, 2.5 for yellow, 3 minutes for red. The second segment will be timed 5 minutes for green, 8 minutes for yellow, 10 minutes for red. The evaluators will be timed 2, 2.5, 3, green, yellow, red. The table topic speakers will be timed 1, 1.5, 2, green, yellow, red. And to know whether you have hit the green, yellow, or red time, my background will keep on changing like this. I hope these backgrounds will be glaring enough for you to notice. This red background is right now for me. And please do, speakers, please do keep me pinned so that you know if you have crossed your time. Back to you, GE.
Thank you, Hind. Thank you for that wonderful introduction of yourself. So now let me call upon in another critical role for today, which will be the R counter. So I think let me call upon Toastmaster. I think Srinivasan is our counter, but yeah.
Hey everyone. So actually I am the grammarian, but let me just go about it. So thank you, Toastmaster Shricharan. And hi everyone, I am Srinivasan and I am the grammarian of the day. My job here as a grammarian is to explain the word of the day and also monitor the usage of grammars by both the speakers as well as the role takers. At the end of the meeting, I will present a report of the number of usages I'll also give the word of the day at the start of the meeting, and I will also track the number of usages of the word of the day, and also give some feedback on the grammar usage for every speaker. Now let us go to the word of the day. So based on the theme of today, I wanted to choose a relevant word of the day, and the word I chose is the word gumption, which means the ability to decide what is the best thing to do in a particular situation, and then to do it with energy and determination. Some of the examples of the usage of the word gumption in a sentence are: the Toastmasters displayed a lot of gumption to chase progress over perfection. The young child had the gumption to stand up to its bully in the school. I will be pasting these explanations in the chat soon, and I'll just give all the best to all the speakers. And over to you, Toastmasters Shricharan.
Thank you, Srinivasan. I think you really explained your role beautifully. And everyone, please note the word of the day. We tend to miss it a lot, but try to use it as much as possible. So with that said, we have only one role pending. Let me call upon the accountant to explain the role of the accountant.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm Fatima Tasneem, and I'll be taking up the role of accountant today. I mean, I have net connectivity issues. I couldn't switch on my camera. So, I'll be looking for the crutch words, parsers, and fillers in our speeches. And I've already started making note of it. I'm looking forward to deliver a evaluation with nil errors. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatima. Thanks for explaining your role. So now things are going good. So let me come back towards the end of the session to give my observations. Until then, I'll be a passive observer, and I'll hand over it to the Toastmaster of the day, Shreya.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Shricharan and the tag team, for introducing yourself. Now, without any further delay, let's get on to the next section of this meeting, that is the prepared speech section. Before I introduce the first speaker to you, let me start with introducing the evaluator of the first speech. Toastmaster Jay from the Powerschool Club is going to be evaluating Toastmaster Ram on his speech today. Over to you, Toastmaster Jay.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. The next Toastmaster is going to be performing his L1P3 speech, researching and presenting. The purpose of the project is to learn or review basic research methods and present a well-organized, well-researched speech on any topic. I wish you all the best, and may you give your speech with a lot of gumption. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Jay. I spoke to Toastmaster Ram about what he thinks of this ideal of progress and perfection. He said that he feels perfection is achieved on the cusp of collapse. Unless one can chase perfection perfectly, collapse is imminent. And he believes that he is not perfect, so he'd rather chase progress. Over to you, Toastmaster Ram. The brave new world of genetic vaccines. The brave new world of genetic vaccines, Toastmaster Ram.
The WHO called it a once-in-a-century pandemic. We saw with fear and despair statistics of humongous proportions that never seem to abate. Heart-wrenching stories of people who were impacted. More than 2 million deaths. One would think anyone and everyone would do anything and everything to save themselves from this scourge. Yet, a few weeks back, there were reports that doctors in a reputed hospital were reluctant to participate in the vaccination program. Why? Good evening. As part of my L1P3 speech, I will attempt to answer this question by presenting my research on innovations in vaccine technology and concerns about these innovations. I urge you to kick off your shoes if you're wearing them, sit comfortably regardless, and don't relax. Please pay attention. A vaccine is a substance that stimulates the host to fight against disease-causing pathogens. Every vaccine works on the principle of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Traditional vaccines are of two types, whole pathogen and subunit. If you take a pathogen and treat it, either with a strong dose of radiation or heat, it is inactivated. Vaccines of this type are usually the flu and polio vaccines. On the other hand, if you were to take a pathogen and process it so that it is viable but weak, then you would call it a live attenuated vaccine. Vaccines of this type are usually those that are associated with chickenpox and MMR, measles, mumps, rubella. A third variety is if you were to take bits of a pathogen, insert them into a safe virus, call it a viral vector vaccine. In recent days, Bharat Biotech's Covaxin is of this type. In the subunit approach, I initially went over the whole pathogen type. In the second approach, or the subunit approach, also traditional, the vaccine is made up of very specific bits. It does not contain the whole virus. On the other hand, it does not need to piggyback on a safe virus. The DTP, or the diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis vaccine, is of this type. These are the traditional vaccination techniques that have been known. Before moving on to the genetic approach, here is a quick primer on DNA, RNA, and the human immune response. Every human cell contains a nucleus. The nucleus is enclosed by cytoplasm. The nucleus contains genetic material, or the DNA, and the cytoplasm contains all of the material in the cell, obviously that's outside the nucleus. The cytoplasm is involved in cell metabolism and in providing structural support. Most cells in the body age and die, which means they need to be replaced. The DNA contains information to make a new cell when the cell dies. In a process that's called transcription, a single strand mRNA molecule is created from the double-stranded DNA molecule. The mRNA molecule exits the nucleus, carrying the genetic code to the cytoplasm, where a new cell is created using the received genetic code. The double helix you see now, and that's the DNA. And the single strand you see here is the RNA. To summarize, new cells are created in organisms by using the DNA that is stored in their parent cells. The creation of mRNA is an intermediate step in this process. With that background, we can delve into the brave new world of genetic vaccines. As an aside, I urge you to look up Dr. Katalin Kariko, Kariko, and her contribution to mRNA vaccines. A good starting point is businessinsider.com. Back to the main topic. In the DNA approach, the genetic material, or the DNA, is extracted from the pathogen and injected into the human body. Over the course of time, the DNA of the pathogen enters a cell, the human cell, where the DNA of the pathogen is transcribed into mRNA. The mRNA carries the genetic code of the nucleus, and the normal cell mechanism makes proteins based on the pathogen's DNA. Note that the whole pathogen is absent. Just the proteins that identify specific aspects of the pathogen are made. AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine is DNA-based. The mRNA approach, DNA from the pathogen is allowed to transcribe into mRNA in the lab. It's one step ahead of DNA. And the mRNA is injected into the human body, resulting in the proteins that invoke the immune response. Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine is of this type. Can you now appreciate the concerns people have about these vaccines? because the genetic material of the pathogen is injected into and uses the human body's mechanisms to make proteins that are characteristic of the pathogen. The whole topic of genetic tampering arises. But you have another question. Are these concerns legitimate? That's a story for another day. I have neither the gumption nor the time to pontificate about that question. To conclude, I will leave you with my disclaimer. This research was carried out by a rank amateur whose understanding of biology is suspect. The total time spent on this project was 8 hours of research and 2 hours of editing for clarity and communication. Caveat emptor, stay safe.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ram, for that really informative and insightful speech that you gave. I must say you have successfully scared me a bit more than I was regarding the vaccines. Now let's get on to the second speech, but before we do that, let me introduce to you the second speech evaluator today. Toastmaster Phil will be evaluating Toastmaster Harith on his project. This is a rather unique project or objective, I would say, at least to the members of OITC. So please listen carefully. Over to you, Toastmaster Phil.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya. Good afternoon, everyone. So Toastmaster Harith is going to give us a speech for the Creator Podcast project today. The purpose of his speech is to introduce his podcast and to present to us a segment of the podcast, which is why the time will be timing him in 2 segments. I will be evaluating on the basis that the podcast is supposed to be well organized and engaging to the audience. And for this project, Harith is also expected to demonstrate excellent speaking skills. I'm looking forward to learning more about the podcast and which of the formats Harith has chosen. Back to you, Toastmaster Shreya.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Phil. Toastmaster Harith said something about perfection that really stuck with me. He said that he truly believes that perfection is a myth that is created by fiction. But he doesn't think that progress is just the hero of the story and perfection is this villain. He thinks that they're not two exclusively they're not mutually exclusive entities, but rather they work together beautifully to create some result. We can always aim for perfection or aim for that finish line that does not exist. But actually that aim is what pushes us further to become better. So he says, leverage perfection for progression to be unstoppable. Toastmaster Harith, bro, let's do it. Bro, let's do it. Toastmaster Harith.
It was a Monday morning, 9 a.m., and I was sitting in the office cafeteria with a very, very, very close friend of mine. His name was Vikas. Now, if Vikas was here, he's tall, he's very jovial, and always has a smiling face. We had just finished our workout, and we were preparing for our international speech contest at the club level. And we were brainstorming, we were looking at the world champion speech on YouTube, sitting in the office cafeteria, sipping some peanut butter milkshake, and he was having some muesli with hot milk. We spent the next 1 hour in the office cafeteria brainstorming Dhananjaya Hitachi's 2015 World Championship speech. And we discussed so many beautiful elements of the speech. And then Vikas just randomly blurted out, bro, this is really cool stuff. People would love to listen to why this actually made it to the World Championship. Let's start a podcast. My mouth still filled with peanut butter milkshake, I blurted out, bro, let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters, it's not common for 2 close friends to brainstorm and come up with random ideas to start a bar, start a club, have startups, only to never see the light of day. But that second, our gut just told us, bro, this is going to happen. Fast forward few months later, you will listen to an audio software on both our laptops playing these exact same words. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Talk Your Way Up. I'm your co-host Harith, and I have with me one of my closest friends and your co-host, Toastmaster Vikas. Guys, this was 10 months back. We've released 27 episodes ever since. We've interviewed DTMs, contest champs, and some amazing professionals in their niche. And all it needed to get started was a little bit gumption, an extra hour a day, and an idea that we really resonate with, and a laptop which our office gave us. Shh, secret. Nobody knows this yet. Uh, and I noticed that Shricharan had mentioned that he really wanted to start a podcast. And I don't want this to be a platform where you guys check out the podcast, but please do that. But I also want to make it clear how easy it is to just start a podcast. You don't even need a microphone. I am using a very cheap headphones and microphone right now, which are like 3 years old, and my office mic and my office laptop's microphone. All we needed was a little bit brainstorming of what content we are going to present, and a little bit of time every single weekend to reach out to guests on LinkedIn. And trust me, people respond. Now, I'm going to make you guys listen to a small segment of one of our favorite episode in which we interviewed DTM Alap Mehta about energy on stage. And hopefully, with the contest season coming up, you guys will find this very helpful. Let me share my screen and quickly help you guys listen to this episode. TMoD, please confirm if you're able to listen to it. And I'll just tell you once I start.
Have you started, Harith? We cannot
Yeah,
hear.
can you hear it?
No.
So I firmly believe, and it's a physics terminology, right? That energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, right? It can just be passed on from one form to the other. So for me, the definition of energy, when you say, so there is a misconception around the word energy. Energy is usually interpreted as a word which is like, oh yeah, are you ready? Can you feel it? Sort of a thing, right? Some person coming on stage and yelling, right? But I firmly believe that energy is something that you bring on stage, which consists of two words, which is, um, are you excited about something? Are you excited about the talk that you're going to give? And try this. There's a small experiment that people can do, right? A lot of people have this also prejudice, which where they say, I don't feel I'm energetic anymore. I don't think I'm that energetic as somebody else, right? So let's understand the fact that all of us are have different personalities, right? And one of the things that appeals to me, and when I say energy, I always ask people is ask yourself this question: are you excited about what you're going to talk? And the experiment that you can conduct is, when you're excited about what you're going to talk, your audience always replicates the same emotion. So the other E, energy stands for, is the emotion, right? Let's say you're nervous, your audience is replicating the same emotion. Let's say you're happy, the audience ends up replicating the same emotion. So I think the energy on stage that you and I talk about, and we seldom miss out on talking about, is the emotion and the excitement that you bring on stage. So if you're excited about anything that you're going to talk about, I believe you can be energetic. So I'm somebody who's naturally energetic for everything that I have to do. Even if somebody says, Alap, let's go have a pizza, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go have a pizza. Like, but say, Alap, okay, let's have a cup of tea. Oh wow, let's go have a cup of tea. So I'm intrinsically a person like that. But when I've spoken to a lot of people around me and a lot of students, a lot of professionals, they get carried away that, oh, I'm not energetic anymore. But I think the question that they must ask themselves is, am I excited about the next talk that I'm going to give, or the talk that I'm going to give?
That's interesting because, see, when we are talking about something we really like, for instance, now that IPL season is going on, if your team wins in a super over, you're so excited, and even a naturally low energetic person is jumping and shouting when they're giving the news to their friend or someone. And you say that if you can have that same level of excitement when you're giving your speech about the content you're going to deliver, then energy naturally comes out without you even trying. Did I get that right, Alap?
You're partly right, Vikas, right? So the second part to it is, yes, of course, the excitement in your voice, excitement in your body language comes out, right? The other thing to that is also, we need to understand it. That okay, my persona is like this, right? So my energy scale starts from 5 to 10. Let's say, let's take examples, right? For example, if I take Navjot Singh Sidhu's excitement level in normal tones starts from 10 decibel onwards, right? He's everything 10 decibel onwards. Even if it's a wicket, he speaks it like that, right? And if you take Arun Lal, who's another commentator, for example, right? It is always at 1 decibel, 1 dB. That's it. He'd always speak there. So, and that's his natural style. So, more important is to realize that if Vikas is very different from what Harith is very different from what Alap is, right? So finding that natural balance. Of course, you're excited about your content. Of course, you'll be nervous, but that excitement is also training your mind with respect to: are you excited about talking to people? Are you excited about the content? Are you grateful about talking to people, right? So there are a lot of things that go in psychologically that can make you that can make you seem more energetic on stage.
Wonderful. Alap, we're all aware that you've taken part in a lot of contests and given a lot of public speeches. Now, especially in contests and speeches in general, it'll entail repeating a speech multiple times. Now, let's say you write content for the first time, it's something you truly believe in and you're super excited about it and you're very enthusiastic to go deliver it. When you repeat the speech the second time, third time, 10th time, 15th time, how do you manage to maintain that same level of energy and excitement which you had when you first wrote and delivered the speech? Because I think that's an issue which I faced, and I've heard a lot of people have the same issue. When repeating a speech, how do you keep that energy up the entire time?
Oh, good one. So, let's look at a speech, right? Or a talk. Now, you've designed a certain talk which is towards a certain message that you want to convey to your audience, right? A certain purpose why you're talking about that particular topic. And if you look at it, right, every time you speak, there is an iteration that happens, right? Let's say you've written a version of a speech, that's a version 0.1. You review it yourself, you amplify it, you change few things, right? So let's say I've given a speech at a certain conference, and I'm mostly people ask us to repeat. Everybody wants you to share your life's journey. Now I've shared my life's journey so many times that it is just the same thing. And a lot of people say, "Oh, Allah, wo to same hi tha." Now my life will always remain the same, right? Yet I'm excited about it because every time I'm trying something new. So every iteration of it, or every other iteration that I'm giving, or the every next take in my speech or a talk has something new in it. I'm trying something new. So for me, that keeps me really excited. Okay, so if it's a level one of a contest, I've given a version 0.1, but the next time when I'm giving the speech, it is a version 0.2 where I've taken feedback from a lot of people. So I'm more excited about those changes, whether they are going to work or not. Then the third is version 0.3. I'm again excited about those changes. But remember, the first thing that I said is emotions. I'm somebody who loves to feel the emotions in my talk because I believe that all human beings connect at an emotional level, and they connect to emotions way better than they connect to logic.
Thank you, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that segment. And honestly, it was one of the best decisions in my life in terms of meeting a whole truckload of people, expanding your network, and gaining perspective which you will never think of. And more importantly, being comfortable just conversing and asking questions with a random stranger who you've never met. And that I feel is a life skill which I will cherish for the rest of my life, and I will give that gift to podcasting. So I will encourage all of you guys to start podcasting. The investment is very less. All you need, like I said, is a topic you're very passionate about and little bit time, and hopefully another co-host who's as passionate as you are. Thank you so much for listening, and check out the podcast, and I'm looking forward to listening to your own podcast. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day, Shreya.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Harith, for that exciting speech. I really hope that you have encouraged our GE Toastmaster Shricharan to start his own podcast very soon, which we'll get to listen to. On that note, let's get on to our last speech of the day. But before we, last prepared speech of today, but before we get on to that, let me introduce to you the speech evaluator. Toastmaster Rakshith, over to you to introduce the speech objectives of today.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shreya Puranik. Hello, everyone. I'm Rakshith from Cisco-Vani. I'll be evaluating Toastmaster Sumedh. Sumedh is attempting L1P2 as a part of engaging humor pathway. Objective is to try different communication styles. As a part of this project, it comprises of 3 assignments, delivery of 2 speeches and an evaluation. The main purpose of this project is to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback, and apply the feedback to the second speech. So Toastmaster Sumedh, all the very best.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rakshith. When I spoke to Sumedh about what he feels, he said that in today's world, there is no time to achieve perfection, but there's a lot of time to make progress. What we do on a daily basis need not be perfect. As long as it works, it works. The best example that he gives us regarding this, he says, is his haircut. No, I don't know what to gauge from that because, firstly, I don't know how to gauge men's hairstyles, Sumedh. I'm sorry. I'll let the crowd do all the judging that they want and instead hand over the mantle to you. Toastmaster Sumedh, yesterday's midnight call. Yesterday's midnight call, Toastmaster Sumedh.
Thank you, TMoD Shreya. I'll wait for 5 seconds for the applause to die down. We don't want it to be phony anymore, right? So, all right. Today, I wanted to talk about a call that I had yesterday night, midnight, somewhere around 12 o'clock. And I wanted to regain and relive that experience with you guys. I wanted to share the details with you guys. But before we divulge into the call, I just wanted to ask 3 questions to the audience members present here. How many of you remember the first time you read a book? I see no hands raised. All right. Oh, okay, 1 hand there. All right, good. How many, okay, then the follow-up question would be, how many of you remember the first time you recited a poem or a prose? Okay, smiles. Ajay, okay, great. Now the third and the last question that I have for you guys is then, how many of you remember the first time you actually wrote a paragraph, you authored a paragraph by yourself? All right, again, Ajay, thank you. Individually, as we see here, what happens is you don't tend to remember the first times that you do all these things, but overall in your childhood, you know that you did all these things, right? All of us did this in our childhood, but we don't remember the first time we did it. For as far as I am concerned, I did it the first time in a class project, in my first class. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And after that, I'll talk about how that relates to the call yesterday night. Okay. So in my first class, we had a project wherein I and my benchmate, a good childhood, close childhood friend of mine, we were sitting together. And what we had to do was to look at a picture book, read the picture book, and see the animals in the picture book, pick an animal of our liking, then write 3 descriptive features about that animal, and then wear the animal mask and recite what we just wrote. Okay, this is what we did. So together, this girl who was my who is my childhood friend and my project partner in that project, we both were sitting together. We looked at a cow and said, that's the animal we want to talk about. And so we wrote a paragraph which says, cow has 4 feet or 4 legs and a long tail. Okay. The second line was, cow eats grass and gives us milk. The third line was, cows are here, there, everywhere. Okay. And so when we went up on the stage to recite this, we actually made it an impromptu duo, wherein she would say the first part of the line till the end, and after that I would continue. So she said, cows have 4 feet, and I would go in and say a long tail, and then that's how we did it. And so this is something that you don't remember much until unless your parents actually recorded this, and now they have the blackmail video. Whenever you are angry at them, they'll just showcase you that video, and then you have to make up with them. So they have that video too. But not every day do you actually remember these kind of things. That exactly was what last night's call was all about. Around 12 o'clock in the night, when I was whacking my head around to what exactly would I be saying here in front of this august audience, she calls me up. 20 years later from that day, she calls me up and says, join a Zoom call. I have a doctoral presentation that I'm going to give and I want you to be a part of it. Now, it was weird, 12 o'clock in the night. Why would you join such kind of a call? But anyways, she said no questions asked, so no questions asked. So I joined it. Now, I'll just give an intro to what she's currently doing. She is a researcher in the Leland Stanford Junior University, or as we call it, Stanford. And she's working on animal husbandry and dairy farm productivity. So she's currently working on that, and she had a doctoral thesis presentation on that. So she wanted me to just join in. And so the moment I join in, she comes in. This is again a Zoom call. She comes in and she presents her presentation, which has a lot of technical jargon everywhere. She talks about quadrupeds, which means four-legged animals. She talks about the vestigial organs of normal dairy animals, such as a cow, that would be its tail. Then she talks about the grass that these cows like to eat, and the pastures they like to feed in, or where they are actually found by nature. And then finally, she concludes by doing a comparative analysis with the kind of proteins that are found in the milk of these cows with respect to the grass that they eat. This was her presentation. This went on for 10 minutes, and I was just sitting there, 12 o'clock, half sleepy. I don't know. I just did not realize what was the necessity to invoke my name and come over there, ask me to join that call. Other PhD guys were all big shots in their field, and there I am sitting there. Then finally, once she was done with her presentation, she actually puts up a blank slide, and there comes in the animation. On top, there is a title which says Boko or Bowum, Bowum pedate quattros linga, which means that cows have 4 feet. That's basically the Latin version of it, and therefore the falter there. And then there are 2 pictures underneath that. One picture was both of us dressed up as cows together, taken 20 years back. And adjacent to that was the original manuscript of what we wrote that day. Her parents had actually taken a photo of it, and she had it there. And she said that that was the moment she realized that she wanted to look at things differently. She did not look at a cow and said it had 4 feet. She said, how is the cow able to balance its weight across 4 feet? And she was giving this presentation, and I sat there like the idiot I am. And finally, she says that in the past 20 years, her doctoral studies, whatever she has done up till now, has led her to reinvent whatever she already knew. She does not have to innovate something new, but she needs to reinvent whatever she already knew. And I think that was the message that I took away from that Zoom call, apart from the casual leg pulling and how fat did you look back then. You just imagine, I can't call a girl cow right now. I would be dead on arrival, right? So so we were doing that, and then finally I decided that this is something which is worth mentioning in a Toastmasters meet, and therefore that was the story behind yesterday night's midnight call. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sumedh, for explaining to us about a cow and just interspersing your speech with so much humor. We are now done with the prepared speech section. How many of you does this happen, where you want to try something new, but you're so afraid of being bad that you don't do it? Some new skill, activity, something. Okay, you guys can please switch on your videos. It's all right. If your internet permits it, we are okay with seeing any kind of faces. No exclusivity for good-looking people here. Thank you so much. So yeah, like I was saying, I'm sure it happens to almost all of us. We because out of the 6-7 faces I could see, they're all raised. Without even having an inkling of how good or bad we might be, we are so scared of discovering how horrible we might be that we don't even give it a try, right? Our next speaker here, Toastmaster Yashoda, also took a very long time to pick up a skill. She always wanted to join baking classes to learn the basics of baking, but she never somehow could join them. Over the that it is better to at least start with small steps instead of focusing on doing it perfectly. So she and her daughter started learning baking through online YouTube videos. And voila, she started making different types of cakes such as marble cake, chocolate, or vanilla, or even cupcakes. There's one thing that she said that was really nice for me to hear. She said, life doesn't demand perfection, but it is very important for us that we keep showing up always. Over to you, Toastmaster Yashoda, to conduct the most fun session of today, the table topic session.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Shreya, for that introduction. Dear fellow Toastmasters and guests, a very good evening to each one of you here. So the table topics session is the most exciting part of the Toastmasters meeting. And I'm sure most of us are familiar with what it is. And to those who are not familiar with this, I, as a table topics master, would give you some impromptu question or a topic, and the speaker needs to quickly organize his or her thoughts and then respond to that question or that topic. So the two main objectives of this are to improve the members' impromptu communication skills, as well as effectively thinking on their feet, and then responding to unprepared questions, right? So I will, by saying so, I will then start with the basic ground rules for this. So the moment I give a topic or a question, the speaker will kind of may take 30 seconds to think about it and gather the thoughts. And then once the speaker starts, then he will see a green signal after 1 minute, a yellow signal after 1.5 minutes, and a red signal after 2 minutes. And I would also highly encourage everybody to use the word of the day, which is gumption. And so let's get started. And may I request one of the members to first volunteer so that the guests know that what this is all, how it is all structured.
I think Neeti has volunteered.
Hi, Neeti.
Hi, Yashoda. Able to hear me properly?
Yes. So, so Neeti, there is a quote which says that life is about three C's. What are the 3 C's according to you that can change the direction of your life? Life is about 3 C's. What are the 3 C's according to you that can change the direction of your life? Over to you, Neeti.
Okay, I'll just take few seconds to think about it, and then I'll start.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so according to me, the three T's which I think can give a new direction to a particular person's life is think, thinks, think, and teach. So ideally, most of us think about people, not the things that matter to us. We may think about poor people, but not about poverty. So what I feel is if we start thinking about the little things that matters to us, that is very important and that may lead us in a good direction. And the third T which I want to talk about is teach. Basically, all that we read and we do, we should teach to the people who are unaware of that or who are not enlightened towards those topics. So my gumption is you should think about things that are important to you and teach to those who are not enlightened about those things. So those are my three T's, which I think will matter, and that will give good direction, not just to my life, but probably to society as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Neeti. It was a very well framed, very well thought of, and very thought-provoking speech from you, and really very inspiring. Yeah. So moving on to the next topic, I would now request one of the guests to volunteer. Shreya, I'm not sure of who the guests are in this forum. So,
Yeah, actually, even I am not aware since this is a linkers meeting. I guess we can just go for whoever volunteers.
maybe have, okay, I think
Bala has volunteered.
Bala has volunteered, right? So, what is the most adventurous thing you have done so far? What is the most adventurous thing you have done so far? Over to you, Bala.
Okay. Hi, everyone. The most adventurous thing so far. It's quite an interesting topic to begin with. Please bear with me for a couple of seconds. I'll gather my thoughts and we'll start. Okay. So the most adventurous thing so far. So when we were in 8th or 9th, we started going to friends' wells to see, people swimming and stuff. At that time, I was not knowing how to swim, and my friends' parents were saying, "Do not get excited or do not go near the water, and you will feel the urge to jump in. So don't do that." But when we were there, and a couple of our friends tempted each other, and at the end, I jumped in without knowing swimming, and I just went in for about 10 or 20 feet down, panicking, not knowing what to do next. But my friends jumped in and rescued me from the well, and from that day, so the all the so every time I get scared, I like that feeling. So from there, then onwards, from the next day, I started learning to swim, and to today, I swim regularly, and now it's one of my favorite hobbies, apart from playing cricket and football. Yeah. So whenever you feel there is a slight difference between getting excited and being panicked. Getting excited is good. So with that, you can do anything in life. So always have that thought in mind and go with it.
Thank you, Bala. Thank you for that. That was indeed very adventurous, and the way you learned it, and it really teaches a lot of things. Yeah. May we have the next volunteer, please? Hi, Akshaya.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. When you hear the word success, who do you first think of? When you hear the word success, who do you first think of? Over to you, Akshaya.
I heard a recent interview from a Malayalam actor. His name is Mohanlal. I'm not sure if people in this room are aware of him. And he mentioned this statement which kind of stuck with me for a very long time. He said that the day acting sounds like a job to me, I will never be seen on the camera. And this is something which really stuck with me very long time after I read it. And immediately after I read and I saw this interview, I started looking around to see the people who are around me. And the very first person I latched my eyes on was my grandmother. So for people who do not know about who she is, because it's highly impossible for you to know about my grandmother, she's 82 years old and she is up at 3:45 in the morning, and the puja room in my house opens exactly at 4 a.m. And at 4:15, the prayers start and it closes exactly at 5 a.m. And this has been happening for ages, since ages. And when I look at it every single day, and her routine is something what other people might call mundane, but she takes a lot of value in doing every single thing to perfection. That chai that she prepares at 5 a.m. in the morning, she is 81. She cannot walk on her own and she is supported by a quadrupod. But oh my God, nobody can take away that chance to make the first chai in the morning of their house from her. And she takes care of the kitchen the entire day. You can do anything that you want, but you just cannot enter a kitchen. So success to me is more or less about redefining mundane to something that we can passionately chase every single day. It is just something which cannot become mundane anytime, any day. And I think it is a great quality and a great possession to chase. And I would be happy if I get to own it any day of my life, where nothing looks like mundane. And I'm excited about every single thing, no matter what it looks like, just to chase it every single day. I think the gumption to chase something that appears as mundane to the world is what I believe is true success. Thank you.
Thank you, Akshaya. That's really awesome. It was a very well thought of and very well presented speech, and thank you all the participants for a very exciting session. And over to you, Toastmaster Shreya. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Yashoda, for initiating that very thought-provoking and interesting table topic session. I think now we can have we can start the voting for the session, right? I'll just paste the link and you guys can go ahead and vote and we'll have a minute. Timer Him, do let us know when we can proceed with the session. All right. I can see the red card being flashed, so I guess we can continue with the session. Have you guys ever noticed that we seem to care the most about attaining perfection in these skills that are presentable in front of a crowd? Picture your college days. Did you really care about at the end of the course, had you learned everything perfectly? In fact, did you actually really care about not getting 100 out of 100 on that test that you had attended? I'm sure, I mean, some of them do, but I'm sure most of us did not. And why not? Because no one really asked us about it and we never bothered asking others. Now, picture scenario number 2. You're in school and you're running that 100-meter race with full josh, and your friends are cheering on you. And guess what? You're the last in that race. Mortifying, isn't it? So, this is one thing that I feel we should try to remember, and we should try to tell ourselves again and again, why are we trying in the first place? We are not trying to achieve the societal idea of perfection. We're trying whatever we are doing to improve ourselves, to be a better version today than what we were yesterday. I think with that thought in mind, we can start with the next section, which is the evaluation section of the meet, and hope that that will help us improve ourselves. Over to you, GE, Toastmaster Shricharan.
Thank you, Shreya. Thanks for conducting the session in a very interesting manner. So let's start our evaluation session. So without any further delay, let me call upon the first evaluator to give the evaluation. And yeah.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator. Toastmaster Ram, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What a lovely way to describe what a vaccine is, and with such gumption. You dumbed it down for us. Thank you so much. That's exactly what a vaccine does. Let me start by saying you caught my attention as soon as you entered the meeting. I was so excited to know what your speech was all about. I was very keen to learn about your research and your speech, and knew would be going back with loads of information, which I did. While you had to be sure that the topic is narrow enough to be an effective 5 to 7 minutes, you were brave enough to choose a topic that was so vast and still went into the minute details, which was something I enjoyed a lot. Your pauses were at the right places, and this was a very well-researched project. However, a few pointers, if I may, with your permission. You had a great start to your speech, saying doctors do not want vaccines. This could have been the premise of your whole speech. I was very keen to know, why did doctors not want vaccines? You went into explaining what a vaccine is, what RNA is, what DNA is, what genetics is, what genetic engineering is, what the creation of RNA is doing in some vaccines, new cells created. Now, you have to understand that all this information could be a little saturating for some of the viewers. If this was coming out of a presentation, I would have very well much more be engaged with it and grasped more of it. When you have information that's on your background, it could be a little disturbing because of the video rendering and the quality that the information might not get portrayed. And this was something very valuable. The other thing that I noticed was it felt like I was talking or a speech was coming out of a head. I'd request if your camera could be a little bit lower so I could understand your body language. And if you are supposed to display something like from your background, moving your head out of the way is one way to do it. But however, if this was on in a presentation, I would have very well enjoyed it. I would have loved to see a callback from the theme chasing progress instead of perfection. I think this could have been very well been with your theme, but overall, it was a very well-researched project and I really enjoyed it. Congratulations to Toastmaster Ram. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for this detailed evaluation. So now let us move on to the next evaluation, which will be done by Toastmaster Philip Venere. Philip Venere, you can give your evaluation.
So I would just like to say thank you to Toastmaster Harith for your passionate talk, Bro Let's Do It, and for sharing your podcast with us. embarking on something new always takes a lot of gumption. So I'm so pleased that that has worked out for you, and well enough at that you wanted to share it with the rest of us. Looking at your speech, I felt you set the tone for your selected podcast extremely well. You used a lot of energy, a lot of pace in your voice and vocal variety, and the energy very much came through, an amazing amount of energy. Just at the end of your speech segment, I thought perhaps you were stumbling a little. Maybe you had an eye on the time. And one option there might be to insert just a longer pause or two if you feel the need to collect your thoughts. I don't think that would detract from the overall energy. I also really enjoyed your podcast segment itself. Of course, talking about talking, you've chosen the perfect subject for your audience. But I felt you asked pertinent questions that allowed your interviewee to shine. You were also using colloquial language throughout, which I really enjoyed as it felt informal. So this wasn't a large commercial presentation, it felt friendly. So in conclusion, really, thank you for your engaging, informative and energetic presentation. And I hope and think you've minted some new proto-podcasters, and now we just need to all show the gumption as well. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thanks for those wonderful evaluations. Now let's move on to the final evaluation for today, which will be done by Toastmaster Rakshith.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shricharan. Congratulations, Sumedh, on completing your L1P2. I'll break my evaluation into two parts, what really went well and what could have been improved. So coming to the first section, what really went well. You did ask 3 questions in the beginning. That kept audience engaged right from the start. I did see people responding to your 3 questions that you asked in the beginning. So good job on that. Second biggest observation in my analysis is you were away from the camera. We were able to see you very clearly. Your gestures came out really well. And I think the distance from the distance that you took from the camera was perfect for us to see what you are trying to do. So very good usage of hand movements out there. Next point, nostalgic moment, animal mask. You did take us back to our school days. So thanks for that. Next point I would go with is you had a very good ending. Yes, definitely. We cannot call anyone as a cow when they're grown up, but then a good humorous ending is what I would say. So overall, it was a very good story, tight knit, engaging. I did see many of them laughing at your jokes at the end. So good job on that. Now, a couple of points where we could improve. You did start saying, today I had to talk about yesterday's midnight call. Probably you would have directly started off saying, yesterday's midnight call was so and so. Second thing which stuck to my mind is you did use the phrase, you know something. Probably that could have been avoided. You can probably say it as, this is something you don't remember much, instead of saying it as, this is something you know, you don't remember much. And last point from me, the word of the day was not used. Overall, a very good speech. Congratulations on completing your L1P2 and all the best for your L1P3.
Thank you, Rakshith. So now we are done with the evaluations. Now let's hear from our tag team on what they have to say from what we did today. So let me first call upon the timer for today, who will be the Toastmaster Hind. Toastmaster Hind, you can give your report on today.
I cannot hear you, Toastmaster Hind.
Yeah.
You're probably double muted. We can't hear you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let's proceed with the counter report for now. Let's come back to Toastmaster Hind a little back after a little some time. So to the next section, let's first hear from our counter of today, who will be Toastmaster Fatima. Toastmaster Fatima, you can provide your counter report.
Thanks, Toastmaster Shricharan. So good evening here. Good evening, everyone. And I'm presenting the counter report now. I'll start with the first evaluator, Tim. So Toastmaster Jay, he had 6 hours, no crutch words. Sorry, 6 hours, no passes and fillers. And Ram, no crutch words, no passes, no fillers. It was an awesome speech with no errors. Second evaluator, Toastmaster Phil, he had around 10 hours and 2 hums. The second speaker, Toastmaster Hari, 4 hours, 4 and 3 hours, but all of them were delivered towards the end of the speech. And in the audio recording which you shared, there were many rights hours used. Third evaluator, Toastmaster Rakshith, there were 10 plus hours. And third speaker, Sumedh, there were 10 plus hours. And the filler words used were and so, many times. Coming to the table topic speaker, Toastmaster Yashoda, there were a lot of crutch words, 20 plus hours. Filler words used were and so. Table topic speaker 1, Niti, 4 hours, and the filler word used was so. Bala, 25 plus hours, and filler words used were so and a couple of times. And again, Akshaya, no crutch words, no pauses, and no fillers. And general evaluator, Shricharan, Toastmaster Shricharan, 2 hours, and no filler words observed. One pattern which I observed is there are many people who use R to connect the sentences, but people who are very careful about not using R to connect the sentences, when we start the speech, we end up using many R's, and also few people, when we conclude the speech, we are freed up and then we end up using many R's. So apart from using R for connecting sentences, we should also be very careful while starting and ending our speech that we don't use R's. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Fatima. Thanks for that very detailed analysis of what we did, what we did use as a filler word. So now let us move on to the next critical role, which will be the grammarian role. Let me call upon Toastmaster Srinivas to give his report. Yeah.
Hello, Toastmasters. Today was a great day for me as a grammarian. It was an excellent set of speeches, table topic sessions, and even the role takers. So just a pat on your back for everyone. And moving on to my grammarian report, it was a very gumptious display by every speaker to use the word of the day. And the final count for the word of the day, including my usage, is 8. And I would like to highlight Jay and Phil for using the word of the day twice. Congrats, everyone. And moving on to my grammatical analysis, I just have a couple of points or more. Ram, you did an excellent speech and it was flawless, truly flawless. And we were really enthralled by the amount of information you gave and the very relevant information regarding the vaccines, which is a current affair, so to say. Moving on, Sumedh, I just have a couple of points, and one is that you use the first times you do some activity. It could have been the first time you did an activity, and you told half sleepy, which could have been half asleep. And as Rakshith already mentioned, you used yesterday's night's midnight call, which could have been yesterday's midnight call. And Yashoda, I just have a couple of points for you as well. So you, at the end of your introduction, you told responding to unprepared questions, which could have been responding to the impromptu questions or so and so. And there are some basic ground rules. It could have been just ground rules because they also represent the basic rules. And moving on, Niti, you used may lead us in a good direction. It could have been may lead us in the right direction. In context of the three things starting with T, which you're talking about. And Bala, you were talking about I was not knowing how to swim. It could have been I did not know how to swim at that point of time. And finally, at the end of your speech, you told that today I swim regularly. It could have been nowadays I swim regularly, because I think it could have been a habit for you, and it would have represented it more in a better way. And Akshaya, you gave a really good, inspiring speech on your grandmother, and it really motivated us in this point of time where we wanted to feel energetic. And just one point is that you told heard in a recent interview. It could have been, whether you read the interview in an article or you watched a YouTube video. I'm not sure. So maybe you can phrase it as saw the interview or read in an interview. And that's it from my side. And thanks a lot for the great day. Over to you, Toastmaster Shricharan.
Yeah, thank you, Srinivas, again for wonderful report analysis on people's grammatical usage. So now, do we have Toastmaster Hind with us back so that we could finish the timer reports quickly? Yeah, cool. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Before I proceed, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
All right, thank God. Amazing meeting, everybody. We started a bit late, but now where we stand, the meeting has gone on for 75 minutes, which is right about the time when I should be getting this opportunity to speak. So we have really stuck to the time, except for when we began. We began 6 minutes late, and that I would say is a real loss of time, especially because it was already going to be a long meeting with 3 speeches lined up. Let me jump into the timings for every speaker, whether it be table topic or prepared speaker. Speaker number 1, Ram, you timed your speech very well. It was the time came out to be 6 minutes 54 seconds. Your intro was right at 1 minute. I really liked how meticulously it was divided, how meticulously your content was divided within the time. Speaker number 2, Harith, your first segment was timed for 3 minutes and 8 seconds, which was very much within time, I would say, because we always have a 30-second buffer. And the second segment was for 7 minutes and 52 seconds. Overall, I'd say you had 13 minutes, and the fact that you gave a content of 11 minutes is, and that too, a very engaging content, is a really strong display of speaking abilities on your part. Speaker number 3, Sumedh, your speech went on for 7 minutes 58 seconds, which I would say is a little overboard. The thing that if I may suggest, is your build-up of your story took a lot of time. By the time we were done with you explaining the cow incident, it was already past 3.5 minutes. And so the meat of your story, which was the midnight call, did not get enough time, or it stretched your speech beyond the stipulated time. Next up, the evaluators. Evaluator number 1, Jay, you spoke for 2 minutes 35 seconds. Very well done. Evaluator number 2, Phil, you spoke for 1 minute 38 seconds. Now, I'd say that you do have 2 to 3 minutes to evaluate the person. And for a speech that went on for 11 minutes, like Harith's speech, I am pretty sure you can have more points to provide, more feedback to provide. So do not give up the amount of time that you have for your role. If other people are going overboard with their roles, maybe someone else will do it. Maybe TMoD, maybe TTM will try to cut off on time. But as an evaluator, please do try to give the most amount of feedback and the most amount of valuable feedback that you can. Evaluator number 3, Rakshith, you spoke for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. There is a division that I'd like to highlight over here. The good points that you mentioned went on for 1 minute and 40 seconds, while the points for improvement went on for only 50 seconds. Now, I understand that a speech can be so good that you do not have any mentionable or points that could be worked on, but I'd still say that as an evaluator, it is your job to give tough love. And 50 seconds of tough love when compared to 1 minute 40 seconds of just love, I'd say flip the scale. Next up, the TMoD. TMoD has spoken for 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, if that sounds a lot, it is not, because she came on screen for 9 times, and 9 times 10 minutes 50 seconds is very much justified. And to think of it, she also had her own theme which she wanted to talk about. Finally, the table topics session. The table topic session went on for 11 minutes. Now, here is a thing that I would really like to highlight for our table topic master. Within those 11 minutes, the table topic master spoke for 5 minutes 25 seconds, and the table topic speakers spoke for 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, this is a division that as a table topic master, you do not want. You want to speak for as little as possible and let your table topic speakers speak for as long as possible. That is it from my side. Now, I myself have gone overboard. I'm extremely sorry about that. Back to you, GE.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Again, once again, a very detailed timer report. So let's move on to my report actually. So I think we are already running behind. So let me try to keep it as short as possible. So to begin with, to make a meeting great, the efforts has to be made right before the meeting too. And I think this meeting was very exceptional in that front. To begin with, we had the entire agenda broken down to minutes and sent out to everybody in the attending the session. So that was a really great thing, and that is something we all should try to incorporate in all the meetings. So this meeting has exemplified that. So kudos on that. And followed by the theme. It was a really wonderful theme that was picked. And what even more I liked was the Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster Shreya's effort on getting the introduction of the people with relevance to today's theme. So that is something which adds a flavor to it instead of a typical introduction. So kudos on that. With that said, let's see what could be done better in the time of the meeting. To start with, let's go with the flow. To start with, we started the meeting around 5 minutes late. So let us try to avoid it. We planned a lot on this. We planned on the agenda breaking out 2 minutes, but a late start will kind of push us everything back, and we need to again go back to the defensive mode and try to tackle it with the time. So we will try to avoid the initial 5-minute delay that could make break. And from there, it was picked up well by our Toastmaster of the Day, and she had good things to say. One small comment that I have for Shreya is what I would love to hear more on the theme actually. From the theme, from the Toastmaster of the Day, there was, I felt the amount of things that we could take away was little. So a little more would really help. And starting with the speeches, all the speeches were wonderful. It was also a good mix, I guess. Starting with Harith's speech had a different flavor compared to the typical ones that we see. So that was a wonderful session. We enjoyed all the 3 speeches with different paradigms of their own. Followed by the table topics. Again, a very interesting table topics. But again, due to the time constraints, we were able to have only 3 speakers, and maybe the timer mentioned to the table topics master, maybe try to cramp in another speech, another table topic speech by reducing the TTM's role on speaking. And going forward, we had the evaluation part is what really gets interest. So we, as an evaluator, I would like to suggest the evaluators to have this gumption to kind of structurize the things that you're going to say, because that helps actually the listeners and also the audience to take away something. So when we start with an evaluation, we tend to go on the details of the speech. We specify this is what you did, this is what you could do, and so on and on. But in the end, we need to give a holistic picture of what we analyzed on that speech. So that could be given by better summarizing it in terms of points of what are the good points, what were the areas of improvement. So that kind of summarization I would love to see in evaluators in general. So apart from that, they really they brought out very good points. So so kudos on that, and a good evaluation, I would say, for all. And coming to the final, the tag team report, I really appreciate the effort that people put on those things, and all the 3 role takers did an amazing job of their roles. They literally gave everyone the picture of what they did right and wrong. I would like to give a special mention to the timer. So the timer really had this thing of dividing the time in various sectors, various things. So this is actually really helps the speaker to look back and see where we have taken time, where we have taken more time, and where we have taken less time. So amazing work on that. Thanks to the timer. So with that said, I would say this is I would say the things that we planned earlier on this meeting was really amazing, and we did good enough to live up to that. So one thing is try to start the meeting on time. That's the main takeaway that we could get from it. So with that, I think we are already overshooting the time. Let me hand it back to the Toastmaster of the day, Shreya. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shricharan, and a great kudos to the evaluation panel for such a concise yet great evaluation report. I'm sharing the link for the best speakers and the voters. I mean, best speakers and the evaluators. So please go ahead and vote. Timer, please let us know when we can proceed.
I think the name is Hilol and Hari. And
oh, right.
Hello, Hind, same thing.
Hilol stands for Hind.
Yeah.
We know who you mean.
The time is up.
All right, but I'm still waiting to hear about who the winners are.
I would like to tell everybody that there are 18 folks in this room, but there are not as many votes. So people who have not voted, please go ahead and vote.
All right, we have one of the winners ready. Any guesses for the best table topic speaker here? All right, none. All right, the best table topic speaker is Akshaya. Congratulations, Akshaya. Okay, how about the best speaker? Any guesses?
Ram.
Okay, I hear one call for Ram and nothing else. Sorry, Ajay, you're wrong. The best
Harith.
speaker is Harith.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations, Harith.
Congrats.
Okay, and now for the best evaluator.
Hilol.
Hilol is the best evaluator. You're right, Akshaya. Hilol it is. Congratulations, Hind. This was such a fun session. I mean, if it was left to me, I would have probably spoken for 10 more minutes, but I have had to dynamically cut down my content very much due to the timings of to the extended timings of the meeting. But let me just end by saying that I had the best time hosting this session and having participation from so many people. I hope that you guys had a fun journey too. And that's all I have today as the Toastmaster of the day. Handing it over to you, Toastmaster Ajay, for the finishing remarks.
Thank you, Shreya. I only have one thing to say when closing. I'd like to use a quote from Henry Ford. Coming together is the beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. And today's meeting is a grand success. All thanks And kudos to the collaborative efforts of all the 5 clubs. This has definitely been the first for 2021, and I'm hoping that this is just the beginning, and we will continue this and probably have one linkers meet every month. With that, I'd like to wish you all a great success. And I'd also like to thank everyone in participating today's meeting. I'd like to give out a special thanks to the organizers of today's meeting, which is Orators in the Cloud. Thank you so much for putting this together. I know it was a great task, but you guys did it really well. Big kudos to him for all the leadership and leading us all through organizing this meeting. And the entire team of the organizing team. You all have done a brilliant job, and I don't think this would have been a grand success without your leadership and support in this. Please continue to lead the same way. You've definitely sent a big benchmark for all the other clubs to organize the future Linkers Meet. And hopefully, yes, we will continue this tradition. With that, I'd like to wish you all a great Friday and a happy weekend, and see you all at the next Linkers Meet.